This debate was way too wild for YouTube. It had to be heavily edited to fit YouTube's terms of service requirements. If you want to watch debates unfiltered, unedited, and live, head over to kick.com/infrared, where you can catch me streaming almost every day. To give some brief context to this debate, some idiot on Twitter challenged me to a debate over whether or not Alexander Kerensky, head of Russia's provisional government, was popular among Russia's peasantry, and whether or not the October Revolution was justified. Right before the debate could even begin, my Yeti was having issues, and as I was struggling to fix it, this person was being extremely aggressive and loud, which set the tone for the rest of the debate, to say the least. Without further ado, here it is. Telling me that Kerensky, who is a Freemason, backed by international bankers and finance, represented the Russian peasantry. So why do you think that? Let's begin with that. What makes you think Kerensky was a representative of the Russian masses and the peasant majority, even though the majority of the peasants almost directly, expressly, were in favor of overthrowing the provisional government?
No, they weren't.
Yes, they absolutely fucking were. Let's see if you can get history right.
The vast majority. If you look at the only free election, if you look at the only free election that happened in Russia, right?
The Constituent Assembly,
where the Bolsheviks lost and the vast majority got voted.
Hey, listen, the Constituent Assembly elections. The Constituent Assembly elections, the name rolls that were submitted to the lists, that happened before the October Revolution. It was, first of all, impossible for the masses.
Yeah, no shit. Before the thing we're debating, the thing that happened right before the thing we're debating.
Okay.
Whether the thing that we're debating is good.
So are the Constituent Assembly elections...
the government that was elected.
Were the Constituent Assembly elections...
Oh my god, you're just like...
I would constituent...
Stop, like, saying...
Look how he giggles and laughs. Okay, let's get to the debate. Yes or no? Were the Constituent Assembly... are you running from this debate or not?
I'm running because I'm laughing at you, like, internet tough guying me. That's what running is.
Okay, so forget all that. I want to debate about the October
random shit at me and just make the argument.
You can't look past the fact that I hate you personally, which I do. I want to debate about the substance. Will you commit to debating?
I'm fine with you hating me. I'm fine with you hating me.
I don't care. I don't care. Will you debate on the substance?
Yelling at me for how much you hate in real life.
Holy shit. What an insufferable voice. I am willing to focus entirely on the substance. I am willing to...
Spit the argument out.
Okay. Were, in your view, the Constituent Assembly elections legitimate or not?
Of course.
Okay, so you think they were legitimate, right?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, but the problem is that those elections were those were established after the October Revolution. How do you know whether the October Revolution was an unpopular event?
No, you're thinking of the wrong elections.
The Constituent Assembly elections in November of 2017.
Yes.
That's not 1917. Correct?
2017. Yeah, no. Well, it depends on which calendar, right? They would be in October, before the October Revolution in the Gregorian calendar.
What elections happened before the October Revolution?
The ones where Kerensky won in huge numbers against the Bolsheviks.
Give me the date at which the exact date that those elections occurred, so I know what you're talking about.
Okay, I can pull up the exact date.
Okay. By the way, if you're wrong, let's just allow you to fucking bury yourself.
The Bolsheviks forcefully
what if I'm willing to tell you
in early November 17?
Mm-hmm. What was the date of the Constituent Assembly elections?
So it occurred over multiple days, right?
What was the fucking date it happened?
2017, dumb fuck. Oh my god.
What was the date it happened? This is why you're not going to tell me what day it fucking happened, because you're going to have to admit that it happened on the 25th of November after the October Revolution of November 7th. So it happened afterwards. It didn't happen before. There wasn't a single fucking election under Kerensky. Kerensky, for all intents and purposes, was a fucking dictator. There were no elections under the provisional fucking government. That's why the left wing of the socialist revolutionaries who weren't even represented in the Constituent Assembly elections, supported the October Revolution in the first place alongside the Bolsheviks. Because Kerensky was a fucking dictator, and the decree on land, which was central to the popularity of the socialist revolutionaries, could only be implemented under the Bolshevik government. So you're sniveling and laughing and giggling like a little fucking schoolgirl, but you get the basic fucking facts wrong. You said there were elections under Kerensky. There were none. They only happened after the October Revolution. It was one of the justifying causes of the October Revolution that Kerensky was a fucking dictator whose will in no way represented the masses of the Russian people or the people of the Russian Empire.
Did it happen after the October Revolution, or was it one of the justifying causes of the October Revolution?
The Constituent Assembly, the elections happened the 25th November after the October Revolution.
No, answer the question. Answer the question.
How many Constituent Assembly elections do you think there were in 1917? Okay, how many Constituent Assembly elections were there in 1917? In 1917, how many Constituent... What's your question?
Answer the question.
What's your question?
I already asked it. Did it happen before, or was it a justifying reason for the October Revolution?
It happened afterwards. It happened after the October Revolution, you dumb fuck. It's what I just told you.
So you were wrong when you said it was a justificatory event for it?
Yes, it was. The October Revolution said we want to hold elections. Kerensky's a fucking dictator who doesn't allow us to have any kind of will of the masses represented in any way. He's a dictator. So they only happened because of the October Revolution. So it was one of the justifying causes of the October Revolution to hold elections for the first time.
This just isn't true, right? They got rid of the candidates list. They didn't actually hold elections. They just maintained the same Soviet
Okay, hold on. So,
right?
No. So now, are you denying the Russian Constituent Assembly elections occurred in any capacity at all?
No, are you crazy? I just referenced them.
So, did they or did they not happen? Have a consistent... Listen, you get the details of the October Revolution wrong. The Constituent Assembly elections happened. They happened on the 25th of November after the October Revolution. The lists of that election were submitted before the October Revolution. No distinction was made between the right socialist revolutionaries and the left socialist revolutionaries, even though a split happened after the lists were submitted. So the results of those elections didn't actually represent the will of the majority. It wasn't a referendum on the October Revolution. It was a complete manipulation by the bourgeoisie, by the right SRs, and by the Mensheviks, and by the cadets and others to basically make it seem like through a formal institution that the will of the majority is being represented, but it's actually not. The will of the majority was overwhelmingly being represented in the Soviets, which was an alternative institution of democracy that was far more democratic than the parliamentary, vastly inferior Constituent Assembly. So you lied. You said that you said there was elections under Kerensky. You're a fucking liar. You said there was elections under Kerensky, you fucking liar. You said there were elections under Kerensky.
Comes out, right? The October Revolution begins. They don't fully dissolve the provisional government. They still maintain dual power. They keep going through the elections.
In what way did they not dissolve the provisional government?
They dissolved.
In what way did they not dissolve the provisional government?
Until they didn't dissolve the provisional government until it met for the first time, right? They waited for the elections to take place.
The provisional government was not represented by...
Listen. When they realized the Bolsheviks couldn't win in elections, they weren't quite as popular as they thought they were. In fact, they weren't anywhere near as popular as they thought they were. They dissolved the government instead.
Hold on. You got numerous facts. Okay. So I just noted a number of points you made that are factually wrong, just like when you denied the Constituent Assembly elections happened on the 25th. So first of all, the provisional government was not represented by any... Hold on. I let you speak. Now let me speak. The provisional government was not represented by any elections whatsoever. That is a fact. Secondly, you said the Bolsheviks were far less popular than they believed. Well, the facts don't justify that. Lenin, writing in reference to the results, says how shocked they were that they managed to get 1/4 of the entire vote. And Lenin actually did an actual analysis of the regions in which the Bolsheviks got the vote, and he showed it was overwhelmingly by by the urban factory proletariat. The Bolsheviks had the support of the proletariat. Now, why did they not have the absolute majority? Because the socialist revolutionaries were still the most popular among the peasants. The problem is that the socialist revolutionaries split after the October Revolution between left and right. The left SRs went over to the Bolsheviks, and the right SRs were in favor of the provisional government. The left SRs were in favor of the revolution and and implementing the decree on land, the land distribution, okay? So the Bolsheviks were together with the left SRs, but the elections did not represent the left SRs. This is not contested by historians. The left SRs were overwhelmingly underrepresented in the Constituent Assembly elections because their names were not submitted in the rolls before the elections.
You're just wrong.
Okay, what about what I said was wrong?
What? In the Russian Civil... The left SRs didn't side with the Bolsheviks. They fought against them in the Russian Civil
War. That was much... No. There was an uprising by left SRs a year later, because of the signing of the Treaty of Brest. Because
in 1917.
In 1918, dumb fuck. Okay. You know what? Let's do it. Let's do it. Give me one fucking instance of the left SRs revolting against the Bolsheviks in the year 1917. Give me one fucking example of that. One fucking example.
Recount a fucking battle for you? No, it was that was
one example. Cite your sources and give me one example of any uprising by the left SRs in 1917. Give me one fucking example of that. One fucking example. Give me one example. Give me one example of that. Holy fuck! What an insult!
What do you mean? Do you want a fucking battle? Is that what you're?
Yes. No. I want you to name a date. All I want is a date. I want a date. I want empirical evidence of any left SR uprising against the Bolsheviks in the year 1917. Anything. Give me any reference, any scholarly reference referencing one in the year 1917.
You want a scholarly reference? Just look it up, dumb fuck. They're literally.
So you cannot provide anything to substantiate the claim that there was an uprising by the left SRs in the year 1917.
Listen, I'm sure you're a big boy enough to go on a Google Scholar yourself.
Yeah, I'm Googling it now and I find nothing because there's no evidence of it whatsoever. I can find no evidence of it.
The left SRs just didn't exist in 1917. They just were.
They did exist. They were allied with the Bolsheviks in 1917. It was later, during the Treaty of Brest-Litovsk, that a faction of the left SRs, this led to the dissolution of the left SRs more or less, actually went against the Bolsheviks when they tried to assassinate one of the German figureheads to continue the war against Germany. That was their point of contention. The other SRs that took up arms against the Bolsheviks in the Civil War, who went over to the whites and collaborated with them, those had nothing to do with the left SRs. Those were the remnants of the right SRs. You don't know anything about history. First you said the Constituent Assembly elections happened before the revolution. Then you also said that there was an uprising by left SRs in 1917. Every single factually testable claim, every single empirically testable claim you have made is a lie. Every single empirically testable claim, every single empirically testable claim you have made is a lie.
Out of curiosity, how do you test any of my claims? Can you provide me
we consult the available historical evidence. I was very generous with you, and I asked you. Okay, you can go on testable means, is this confirmed by any available historical evidence? You can give me anything you want.
No, that's not what testable means. I can give you
within the okay. We're not going to get into a semantics gibber.
Right? You come up with a hypothesis and then you can run an experiment.
Testable means whether the veracity of your claims can be tested or not, whether or not there is available historical evidence that could possibly confirm or deny what you're saying. That's what testable means.
No, testable doesn't mean that you ask the historical evidence, right? Testable means that you form an experiment and then you make an inductive case based on now that we've controlled over all these variables.
Okay. So I'm going to explain. I'm going to explain to you something very carefully. You have made a claim about history. You have not substantiated it with evidence. I asked you, but that claim is testable. We can consult available historical evidence to see whether or not it is true, right? If there is no evidence behind the claim, and you're just saying it was revealed to you in a dream, it's not testable. It's not even worth considering in that case. You claim there was an uprising by the left SRs in 1917. You claim there was an uprising.
I don't understand what the word means. It didn't come to my in a dream. I have fucking read the subject. You have to learn to read.
Okay, what did you read that showed you there was an uprising by the left SRs in 1917?
What did I read?
I don't what remember. Did you read?
I read like a million different. Like, do you want me to find?
Can you show me one thing? Okay. No one has denied so far that the Constituent Assembly was dissolved.
Yes, you did.
No, name when I denied that.
No, I said that the provisional government wasn't dissolved until after
the Constituent Assembly. Hold on. What justifies the equivocation between the provisional government and the Constituent Assembly, considering the provisional government did not allow for any elections to occur within a Constituent Assembly or otherwise? The last time a Constituent Assembly was conceived in Russia was in 1912. The provisional government conceived no such assembly, so why are you making it seem like the Constituent Assembly is a vestige of the provisional government when it's not? The provisional government was a dictatorial government led by Kerensky. You just said they didn't dissolve the provisional government until after the... You said they didn't dissolve the provisional government until after the elections. Did you not? Did you not say? Did you not say they didn't dissolve the provisional government until after?
The provisional government wasn't even. It was still the the vestiges of it were still held up until the.
In what way? In what way? Okay. Okay.
They still.
So I have a simple question.
To manage the election. That's what it did. So it's not like the Soviets controlled like the. It's not like the. You know what? You can go.
Okay, so
go on like your
what form did the remnant of the provisional government take after the October Revolution that they didn't dissolve yet?
Yeah, so when do you think?
No, I asked you a direct question. Can you answer my question? Yes, or it's a yes or no. Can you answer the question? First and foremost, yes or no. What form did the provisional government take after?
No, I'm incapable.
You can't answer that. Okay, you can't answer that question.
Of course I can. So yeah,
so can you answer the question?
Tasked with it was still tasked the structures that were in place by the
name one of those structures. Name one structure.
The election boards.
There were no elections under the provisional government, but there were no elections under the provisional government. Ain't that amazing?
The election that happened during the October Revolution.
No, it didn't happen during. It happened weeks later.
By the structures of the provisional government.
What structures, dude? What structures?
The October Revolution. If you want to
what structures? What structures?
The 2 days of combat.
What structures? What structures? What structures? What elections happened? But what elections happened under the provisional government? There were no elections. Kerensky was a dictator, and there were no elections.
You know the one. You know the one.
The one that happened in the 25th.
Kerensky was.
You mean the one that happened in the 25th? You mean the one that happened? You mean hold on. So you can't make the excuse that I'm yelling over you. I'll talk calmly. So the one that happened weeks after the October Revolution, is that the election you're referring to?
The one that happened in the process of the October Revolution?
No, it didn't. It wasn't a process. It happened weeks. It was the elections were formally held weeks afterwards.
Again, if you want to reduce the October Revolution to like the 2 days of violent combat and not consider any of the other like vying
the October Revolution, none
of that counts as a revolution. That's fine.
Okay. What you're saying is irrelevant. The Constituent Assembly elections were held on the 25th of November.
Okay.
They were held on the 25th of November. Were they or were they not? Yes. Do you have an argument? I'm being calm with you now. I'm not yelling over you. Do you have an argument? Were they held?
I feel like everyone's heard my argument over and over again. I know that you're like too like caveman brains to like process the words that I'm saying.
So your argument is that the Kerensky government held elections.
No, I never said that.
So, but then I asked you what was the remnant of the provisional government that wasn't dissolved by the Bolsheviks, and you said the Constituent Assembly, which never
established by Kerensky's government.
What was established by Kerensky's government? That the
electoral boards. Listen to the words I've been saying over and over.
Which electoral boards?
How many times can we loop on the same argument?
So which electoral boards?
massive pussy behavior, like you don't know what I'm talking about.
So which electoral boards are you referring to?
Which electoral boards am I referring to?
Yeah.
How do you think the election was run?
Okay, why wasn't there a single election under the Kerensky government? Can you answer that?
Because they had set a future date for the election.
But they kept postponing it.
The elections didn't take place until... They kept postponing it, and then before the October Revolution happened, they set a date, they made a candidates list, and they had everything moving forward in a way that they had not yet done, right? Because they already had the plans that this was when, and this is how the elections were going to run.
Yeah.
Doing so, they established
but hold on.
To serve the elections.
Did they want... Hold on. Did Kerensky... You know what? It's interesting, but it's interesting, because Kerensky was not interested in any elections within a Constituent Assembly. He was interested in elections within the so-called Provisional Council of the Russian Republic, the pre-parliament. That wasn't the Constituent Assembly. That was a different institution. By the way, no elections were held.
What was the difference?
The Constituent Assembly was a complete...
They had a planned elections. They actually moved forward on doing the elections. Unlike they had previously.
How did they do that?
They finally found
and how did they move forward?
Now it's okay to do the election.
How did they move forward?
How did they move forward?
Yeah, can you name some significant steps?
They established electoral governing structures, and they put forward the process of establishing a candidates list, of a party list, and that party list was finalized, established. All of this happened right before the October Revolution.
Oh, that's really convenient. That's really
all the names that were on the list. They didn't like that the SRs were higher on the list.
No, they didn't have a problem with the SRs being higher on the list. The problem was that the provisional government was overwhelmingly unpopular among the Russian masses, and the socialist...
It was unpopular amongst the military.
No, so before the Constituent Assembly elections were actually held, there was a split within the Socialist Revolutionary Party. Do you deny that?
Before the elections were held, there was a split in the party?
And that split was not represented on the ballot, meaning there was no way for whether or not the revolution, which overthrew the so-called Council of the Russian Republic, that's what the revolution was, that revolution, which overthrew Kerensky and his dictatorship with its emergency powers, and replaced it with a Bolshevik dictatorship, let's say that too, so there's no controversy, the Bolsheviks were willing to share power with those who agreed with them that the provisional government had to be overthrown. The left SRs were split with the SRs as a whole because they also wanted to overthrow the provisional government. And the left SRs were not represented in the actual elections on the 25th.
They weren't represented separately. They were in the party lists, right? They were in the candidate lists for each party.
No, they weren't. No, the left SRs who were overwhelmingly younger were not. They were okay. Name a few of the left SRs who were represented in the Constituent Assembly elections.
You want to go down the list?
Yeah, name one left SR.
I don't have a
okay, but because it's considered relatively from a historical perspective, it's considered. It's considered.
I agree that there were less, right?
No, there were barely any. Okay, there were barely any.
Barely any. So it's not none anymore. It's now barely any, right?
For all intensive purposes, it's none. Okay, as far as practically speaking, it's none.
You were just lying, but we can move on.
No, I'm not lying because the Socialist Revolutionary Party. The leadership and the people represented in the Constituent Assembly elections were overwhelmingly right SRs, and the left SRs were overwhelmingly underrepresented relative to their popularity. Now, in the process of the Bolshevik Revolution, which is all power to the Soviets and peace, land, and bread, alternative democratic institution, the Soviets, was gaining widespread. It was spreading like mushrooms throughout this whole year across the countryside, across all of Russia. People are quickly making the transition to the Soviets as the legitimate form of democracy. And the Constituent Assembly does not have any kind of democratic legitimacy in the eyes of the overwhelming majority of the people. Now, just because of the name rolls that were submitted before the October Revolution, leading to the outcome of counter-revolutionary representatives gaining favor, like the right SRs, that's really what it was, people think that the Bolsheviks had no grounds to dissolve the Constituent Assembly. But it didn't actually, by any metric or standard, represent the democratic will of the people. It just didn't.
Are you done?
Yeah.
Okay.
So do you have an argument? Do you have an argument?
You're just like not. Yeah, of course.
But anyway, do you have a response to the argument I made about whether or not the Constituent Assembly were a legitimate democratic institution representing the will of the majority?
Yeah, the argument is, if I were you, I would have less dysphoria than I currently do. That's the argument. So
you have no argument. You concede the actual debate.
No, I made the argument. I want a response. Why aren't you responding to my argument?
What's your argument? I actually want to debate about the substance of this issue. You've conceded on everything we can actually pin you down on. You thought the Constituent Assembly elections were held before the revolution. We have you on record claiming that it wasn't true. You tried to say the elections that happened before the revolution. No such elections took place. No, we're going to play back the recording. We will play back the recording. We will play back the recording and hear exactly what you fucking said. How do you know that the October Revolution was an unpopular event?
No, you're thinking of the wrong elections.
The Constituent Assembly elections in November of 2017.
Yes.
That's not 1917. Correct?
2017. Yeah. No. Well, it depends on which calendar, right? They would be in October, before the October Revolution in the Gregorian calendar.
What elections happened before the October Revolution?
The ones where Kerensky won in huge numbers against the Bolsheviks.
Give me the date at which the exact date that those elections occurred, so I know what you're talking about.
Okay, I can pull up the exact date.
Okay. By the way, if you're wrong, let's just allow you to fucking bury yourself.
The Bolsheviks forcefully
what if I'm willing to tell you
in early November 17?
Mm-hmm. What was the date of the Constituent Assembly elections?
So it occurred over multiple days, right?
What was the fucking date it happened?
2017, dumb fuck. Oh my god.
What was the date it happened? This is why you're not going to tell me what day it fucking happened, because you're going to have to admit that it happened on the 25th of November after the October Revolution of November 7th. So it happened afterwards. It didn't happen before. There wasn't a single fucking election under Kerensky. Kerensky, for all intents and purposes, was a fucking dictator. There were no elections under the provisional fucking government. That's why they said they happened before the revolution. They didn't. They didn't. Why do you keep running? Like, I have showed every willingness to just talk about the substance of the debate, but you want to scurry away and go off topic.
Pivot it off. I'm like,
what did I pivot on? What did I pivot?
In the first two sentences of the conversation, when you couldn't finish an argument without screaming into your mic about how if we were in real life,
because this is what was happening. I said
I've already. There's no reason to keep talking. I've already won this debate. My side has already won. What did you win?
You're just screeching into your fucking mic, and I have to literally lower your volume, or else no one can hear anything. Listen, nobody can hear you. I promise. You better be streaming this or recording this, because no one can hear you right now. So I hope you're streaming this or recording this, because no one can hear you right now. I'm just wanting to let you know that. Yeah. No, absolutely no one can hear you right now. I hope. Yeah, so on the substantive meat and potatoes. On the substantive, okay, on every relevant point of substance, you have conceded and you've submitted. And it's as simple as that. I've given you ample opportunities to focus on the substance. You said the Bolsheviks, hold on. You denied that the left SRs were overwhelmingly underrepresented relative to their actual popularity in the Constituent Assembly. You denied. Didn't you say, hey, don't you remember? said overwhelmingly. The split wasn't represented in those elections. That's the relevant point. The relevant point is also, hold on. Excuse me. So calm down a little bit. Did you or did you not claim that in the year 1917 there was a left SR uprising against the Bolsheviks?
Yes.
But there wasn't. But the problem is there wasn't. There was an alliance between the left SRs and the Bolsheviks. The left SRs didn't even protest the Bolsheviks.
There was a partial alliance.
No, there was a full alliance between the left SRs. The left SRs were literally that was a formally different party than the original SR party that wasn't a coalition with the Bolsheviks.
Oh.
They did disagree with the Bolsheviks the year later on Brest-Litovsk and on other issues, but on the issue of the provisional government, that's what the split happened because they supported the Bolsheviks. And on the issue of the Constituent Assembly, it was the left SRs that were original. Hold on. Did you know that it's a matter? Hold on. Excuse me. Did you know that it's a matter of historical fact that it was the left SRs who were very ambivalent and even hostile to the idea of convening a Constituent Assembly? They said the only purpose of the Constituent Assembly should be confirming the Soviet power and the Soviet democracy. They didn't even want to really have these elections, the left SR. It was the Bolsheviks who wanted to do it to prevent a civil war from happening, which obviously wasn't possible anyway because the right SRs refused to actually represent their constituencies and overwhelmingly were in favor of getting a chance to do what?
They didn't get a chance to represent their constituencies.
Okay.
They didn't get to do any actions in Congress.
They did. They were elected into the Constituent Assembly as though they represented the majority of the SRs, but they didn't. I'll give you an example of this. So upon seizing, like within days of
the moment that they convened, the Soviets tore it down.
Okay,
you just don't understand.
That's not true. That's not true. First of all, but second of all. The Bolsheviks, within days of seizing power, issued something called the Decree on Land. Was the Decree on Land popular among the peasantry, yes or no?
Was the issue that was the number one issue of both the left and the right SRs that made them very popular amongst agrarian socialists, that gave them
so here's the problem with that. Sure.
Peasant uprising power was the land reform, the main platform.
Okay. So you agree it was popular. Okay, so you agree it was popular.
Yes, I agree. That land reform, the position of the agrarian socialists that would have been in power if the Bolsheviks hadn't overthrown the government.
Can you name them?
Yes.
So the problem with that is although all of the SRs were in favor of land reform, they were not actually all in favor of the Bolshevik Decree on Land. The right SRs condemn the Bolsheviks because, they stole our program and they're implementing it under unfavorable conditions. The position of the right SRs was that, the position of the right SRs was that the Decree on Land could not be justifiable until it was formally adopted by some parliamentary election. So the right SRs were actually against the Decree on Land.
Yeah, they wanted to. They said that it would be better to do the land reform under a democratic government.
Okay, sure.
Of course, I agree. Under a democratic
government. You agree with it.
But you disagree that they stole their policy. You're insane. I don't know.
Can you please let me respond? Can you please let me respond? Can you please shut up for 1 second? So I'm going to respond on my stream so my audience can hear it. The problem is that by the time that the Bolsheviks had issued the Decree on Land, it was overwhelmingly implemented and adopted by the peasant masses, entrenching and solidifying their support for the October Revolution. By the time of the Constituent Assembly, the right SR position was to basically oppose the Decree on Land and oppose the emergence of Soviet democracy when it was already being implemented, making them actually not representative of the peasant masses. And that's the problem. The peasants were not being represented by the right SRs who were overwhelmingly represented in the Constituent Assembly. The left SRs, one of their reasons for supporting the October Revolution was actually in order to consolidate, implement the decree on land that was implemented before any parliamentary elections. By the way, the real reason the right SRs were against the decree on land was because they were obviously allied with the bourgeoisie, and including the international bourgeoisie, who very strongly wanted to continue Russia's place in World War I. So that's what I wanted to say, but they kept squealing, and they just couldn't listen to reason, and there's really nothing I could do about that. Anyway, I don't know where this person went. They ran away. That's really sad. That's really sad. They ran away.